Kings hit the court, watch the magic go down. In the Kings court, the vibe's electric. If you don't like that, we're here to correct it. With the best in the game, we're raising the bar. From the hardwood to the airways, we're the Kings shining star. Expect the unexpected, this is where it's at. From NBA insights to the latest chit-chat. Grab your popcorn, sit tight, we're ready to roll. In the heart of Sacktown, we're feeding your soul. In the Kings court, the vibe's electric. If you don't like that, we're here to correct it. With the best in the game, we're raising the bar. From the hardwood to the airways, we're the Kings shining star. With the NFL, Adams in the ring. Reynolds got the wisdom, hear the praises we sing. Court in session, it's a royal affair. With the fans all around, feel the passion in the air. In the Kings court, the vibe's electric. If you don't like that, we're here to correct it. With the best in the game, we're raising the bar. From the hardwood to the airways, we're the Kings shining star.
Happy Jerry Reynolds Tuesday. What's up, everybody? Ryan and Sacktown with you. Hope you had a good, actually, I have a good question for all of you.
Ooh, that's a great question.
A great question. Does everybody still have their digits? Do we have anybody in the King's Court that blew off a finger with their fireworks this year? Hopefully not. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope you had a good long weekend. We are in the dog days of summer, but doesn't mean that we don't have Kings news to talk about. Jonathan Kuminga still looking for a landing spot. What is the Warriors' game plan for him? Not a lot of money left out there. And DeMar DeRozan. Did we lose another destination for DeMar DeRozan? I think we did.
Clippers, Jazz, and Heat have agreed to a big-time three-team trade. ESPN reporting that Norman Powell will be heading to Miami. John Collins sent to L.A., and the deal also will see Kevin Love, Kyle Anderson, and a 2027 second-round pick head to Utah.
Norman Powell, who should have been probably an all-star last year, lobbying to be an all-star. He is out in LA, but they get John Collins. How's that hit everybody? The Valanciunas talk is really heating up about, it's a little bit of tug of war between the players and really the front offices looking at this with FIBA and international basketball. The fact that if Valanciunas was in Europe and wanted to come here, the Kings would have to buy out his contract, or whatever team took him on would have to buy the contract out. But if he just wants to leave, there's nothing really in place for the NBA team to get something in return or some type of buyout. So that rages along. But again, it's the dog days of summer, because when I put on one of the only shows that I listen to for about an hour a day, they were debating the LeBron decision back in 2010. So we are in the dog days, but we have Jerry Reynolds coming up at 4 o'clock. So if you have questions for him, put them in the chat. We will get to them. We'll talk about the Kings last week. Dennis Schroeder introduced today to the media by Scott Perry. We've got the press conference. We will check that out. I heard from a very reliable source that the photographer will not be blocking your view in this one, okay? I think the photog's on the other side, so we're good to go. Also, Napes tonight, 8 o'clock. Join him. He'll be doing his open forum show as we get closer and closer to NFL training camps. Summer League for the Kings. Practices have begun. We're going to get some audio in, which I thought was interesting, from Depeche Mistry, who is the Kings head coach for Summer League. Really cool story, too, for me, looking at his background. He's promoted from a video coordinator all the way up to now an assistant coach and coaching the Summer League team. That's awesome. That is super cool. We can slam the Kings for doing stuff backwards, that's actually something they're doing the right way. So good for him. We'll see if he can get the most out of that team. But within his first 2 sentences yesterday after practice, I'm like, oh, okay. So you guys are kind of listening and you're kind of not listening. And we'll get a little bit of that from Scott Perry today up with Dennis Schroeder. We hit Kaminga. Summer League right around the corner. In fact, it starts on the 10th. Our guy BJ is going to be there. Hey, by the way, Dennis, you are so lucky that we're not doing grievances today, that we're going to stay on track because Dennis, dude, you hit me with a tweet that's like, let me kind of paraphrase the tweet. Told you Dalton Connect's trash. Dude has 2 bad summer league games, and he's trash. He was in the running up until that failed and really weird trade that got rejected. He was in the running for Rookie of the Year last year, Dennis. Come on, man. Sample sizes, dude. My man, Dennis will always inevitably be right about something. Even if it's just for one night, it's a flash in the pan, it will happen. That's a ruling.
Order in the court.
Anyways, Summer League charging an exorbitant amount of money to go check out. I mean, you got to have some money bags. If you're going to go to every game out there, $72. What are we talking about? The Kings roster is out. Now, we'll go into the roster a little bit more in depth as the show goes along. As I look at the other teams, knowing that they're likely not going to play their first-round picks, especially your high first-round picks, all the way through Summer League, I look at the Kings. There's no excuse. You've got 4 players, not to crank the pressure up or anything, but you have 4 players that just won a G League championship playing on this roster. Technically, you could say 5 if you want to throw in Devin's week in Stockton, 2 weeks in Stockton. So the Kings, second-year players, the Kings should be competing. The Kings should, if the Kings aren't over 5, they should be 3-1 at minimum, in my opinion. Here is their roster that you can actually read if you want to take a look at that. Really curious, this Isaiah Crawford stuff. The Kings and Isaiah, I like the young man. I think he's got a great temperament. I think he can be a really valuable asset to Stockton, but the Kings are really high on Isaiah Crawford, already offering him a qualifying offer to be a 2-way player. I was kind of looking a different way. He's got the NBA body. He just needs to develop. The build is there, but the consistency is not. But he will be down there. Mace Jones will be down there. And one guy that I really enjoy playing, anybody that watched Stockton knows this, John Elmore. He's going to get a look here in Vegas. Really happy for him. Really happy. He's just a glue guy. He's one of those basketball players that isn't particularly great at one thing specifically. He's really good at a lot of things. And think about this within context, within the G League context. Not talking about the NBA, but G League, Summer League, you're playing lower competition than the G League. So if we had to rank NBA, G League, Summer League competition, that's how it comes out, because a lot of the guys playing in Summer League or on Summer League rosters will not even be in the G League. So that's the Kings roster. Here is their schedule for Vegas. And then once they get through their 4 games, this is how the rest of it chops out. I'll let you read it, but it goes into basically the playoffs, which you get to it's not a round robin, but the teams with the best records advance on eventually, maybe the championship. So let's hear from Depeche. This was yesterday, and I want to see if the same things catch your ear that caught my ear. He was asked about the opportunity to coach and what he is going to be pushing with those guys.
I just want them to establish their defensive identity. Right? This team is going to be a defensive mindset of team going into Summer League. We're going to make them feel us. We're going to communicate, right? And then we're going to compete. And those are the 3 things I'm really harping on. And I think the defense is going to create our offense.
Now, I know this is just obviously the first practice with all of them, but, you know, is there anyone in particular out
Where have we heard that before? I swear, there's some show that I'm around all the time where I've heard that a lot, dating back to last season, dating back to a season and a half ago. Anyways, Depeche, continue.
There that really surprised you, or any particular player who you really were like, wow, I didn't know they had that there?
To be honest with you, I really enjoyed Devin's leadership, and I know like he's played limited amount of games this season, but he's been working hard in the summer. Every day he's been in here, and I just like how he controlled his team, and that's what kind of really shocked me. Not just his play, it was his leadership of his team.
He said he's going to be playing anything that you guys ask him. You guys are going to be running him a lot at the point.
Yes. I want him to handle the ball. We got multiple ball handlers because we're going to play fast. So truly, we don't really have a point guard. We're going to have multiple point guards. They're going to bring up the ball, and Dem is going to be one of them. And we're going to test him to see if he can handle the pressure. And I think he has because he's been working on it.
Would Nick be any kind of factor in that as well?
Yes, of course. And Nick played little point guard in high school. So we're going to test that out and see how he handles the pressure. And I think he'll do a good job. And we'll test it out right now too when we scrimmage and stuff.
when you have this opportunity.
All right, so of note, and remember, this is Summer League. Summer League. It's not training camp. It's not how the main roster is going to play, but it's interesting what they're pushing with the younger guys. I sat back and I said, as soon as Nick Clifford got drafted, that all the pressure in the world is on Devin Carter to show that he has improved his ball handling, to show that he can be a backup point guard. Now, what caught me off guard was what they said.
Well, the biggest thing is we need a point guard. That's for sure.
It sounds like they're going to play like Stockton. So if you're going to play like Stockton, makes all the sense in the world. Sometimes it's Dex bringing up the ball, who's in San Antonio right now, playing for them this summer. Sometimes it's John Elmore. Sometimes it's Mace. They're always pushing the pace. But when I look at this free agent market and I look at things starting to dry up, that Golden State might have some interest in Devin Carter. What I'm saying is you've got some guys on this Summer League roster that could have a legitimate chance at rolling into training camp, possibly being the second, third backup point guard on this roster. This is a focus on the guards. 4 games in Vegas. It's exactly what it is. What can they do? And by the way, I got hammered for this. This was like in the first, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes that I put this tweet out. This was last week that I started kind of hearing some rumblings. Are they looking at Nick at the 1? They are going to give Nick Clifford a look at the point guard position. Everybody's like, what? You're crazy. No, they are going to give him a look at the point guard position. Now, what does kind of worry me is this whole, we're not going to have a point guard positionless basketball, because where has it gotten Sacramento? It's gotten Sacramento nowhere. Nowhere good, I should say. So interesting stuff. I'm looking forward to Summer League. It'll be good stuff. We'll talk to Jerry about that as well. BJ is going to be out there, so we'll check in with him. The NBA over-unders are out. Kings, 24 and a half? Is that what the Kings were at? Where are the Kings? There's Utah. Where's Sacramento in that list? Tiny print here. I didn't think it was very much. 37 and a half for the Kings. 37 and a half. I don't know. I haven't seen Nick play at the NBA, G League, Summer League level yet, AP. So I don't know if he can or he can't. What I do know is he played point guard through high school. I don't think the same is true of Keon Ellis. I don't. So maybe Keon's improved his handles. I don't know. I don't think Keon's going to be that guy, though. I can tell you this: if the Kings can play with as much consistent pace as Stockton played with last year, and I know it's two completely different levels, it's going to be much more entertaining basketball. You're going to see better basketball. You will. So the fact that they're going to be running it in Vegas, I'm cool with it. But certainly something to keep an eye on. Also, Patrick, I don't know if you're here. How about these Knicks fans that have turned Wimbledon on its head? They started showing up in full Knicks uniforms, shorts and jerseys. One of the ladies who's playing in the tournament, she's from the East Coast. She's taken to them. And now all of a sudden, they're like taking over the Wimbledon coverage. It's incredible. We'll talk about it if we have time. But let's get some of you in here. What's going on? How was the fourth? Anything good? Anything bad happen? Anything you want to share with the show? Mason Jones, he plays point guard. He plays a different type of point guard, though. He is more, he's turned his game. And you know what? If I look at that list right now and we exclude Neek Clifford from it, I would tell you Mace has the best handles and he is the best equipped to run a team right now. So I don't want to, with Mace, I don't want to judge the way that, or what he's asked to do, especially at the end of the year last year with the scoring in Stockton versus what he's asked to do in Sacramento. But anytime he came into the game with the Kings, even if the game was out of control, he always had a handle on the basketball. So he knows where he's going. It's just, does he fit? He has worked his tail off to get this opportunity. So we'll see how he does in Stockton. I mean, really, Devin Carter should be, hypothetically speaking, Devin Carter should be in the conversation for Summer League MVP. He really should. So Dallas is going to do much better than 38.5. Well, they're betting on Kyrie and his availability. Let's go to the phones. PK, what's up, dude?
Bow, bow, bow.
What's going on, man?
How was your July 4th?
My July 4th, it was good. It was very good. How about yours?
It was all right. I was in the hospital. I had a car accident, but it's whatever.
You've been in the hospital. What happened? Are you okay?
Yeah, I had a kid had his license for 4 days. Ripped 2 wheels off my car on the way to a Metallica concert.
Oh my gosh, dude.
Yeah. I had freaking injections into my spine and my discs that slipped yesterday, which was not fun. But anyway, regardless, I want to ask you something. When it comes to like summer league, how do you think, like in your experience and stuff like that, how do you think a team should approach summer league and development? I'm saying this based on the fact, like when I saw, like I'll give you an example. I saw Chicago put that Lithuanian dude Buzelis on their, like after the draft, they put, even though he's supposed to be like their top dog, the future.
Right.
They put the top dog in summer league with the guys that they drafted. The guy from France or whatever, and then the other guy from Australia or whatever. Like, how do you like? Do you think a summer league should involve some talent in the roster in order to like maybe help people that are coming up to see their talent like push through?
It completely depends on every team situation and really each player. Like Buzelis, who's going to play, he's not going to play every summer league game. He'll probably play 1 or 2, kind of like the Kings did with Keegan Murray year 2. So the approach, go ahead.
But like summer league is like what frustrates me about summer league a lot of times when I watch it, it's everyone's fighting for a job, and then when a team turns into a dysfunctional, everyone's trying to shoot, like I don't know how to explain this. Like Miami, for instance, like Miami won last year summer league, and their coach is like, no, you play as a team. You don't play like you're here trying to find a job. You play to win. So like how do you think, like, how do you assess players yourself in summer league? When you look at them, like, what do you look for yourself?
I'm looking for the improvements that they've been working on in the off season. So I'm looking at every player a little bit different based on what I know, or if I've talked to them and I know, or I talked to a trainer that works with them. I'm looking at them separately. This Kings team isn't going to have that approach. They will play like a team. But for instance, um, looking at the guys on this roster
Mhm.
that's going to be rolling into Vegas, I think the reason Coach Mystery is pushing the defensive identity, because outside of a Neat Clifford, outside of a you probably got to throw Devin Carter in there as well because of the
Got
ball
to.
handling.
Yeah.
Defense is the only way any of these guys are going to play themselves into a position to come to training camp.
But immediately,
So
when you look at this roster, immediately, like, is there something that excites you? Is there something that you personally look for, like a certain person, certain guy that like pops off the roster to you personally?
yeah, this summer I'm looking at Devin Carter. I just said he should be discussed
Discuss.
as probably in the MVP conversation for summer
Yeah.
league. Considering when he went down to the G League, he played awesome. He got half of a season of NBA basketball. If they run him all summer, he should be looking levels above
So
guys.
you want him, like, you expect him to just pop off the chart, like off the roster. We should see, like, uh we should see Devin Carter, if he is going to play in NBA on the roster spot for our team. He should be just popping off the roster every time he plays in summer league, the entire summer.
He should be their best player. Yeah.
Hmm.
He should be their best player. He should
I
be their
agree.
leader. He should be running the offense. You should know when you are watching the Kings play this summer, hey, that's the best guy on the team right now.
Yeah, and you
That's
know
what it
what?
should be.
I want to see him like be like that. It's like he's young, so it's like it takes to get adjusted. But he was an NBA, so it's like I expect him to be like a dog out there. I want him to like, I want him to be like, to just like pop off the freaking, like, off the score sheet. I want to, like, when I watch a summer league game, I want to see that he is like above the level of everyone else. I just want to see, like, he got 1 year, that's fine. He had some ups and downs, but this year I want to see him like as a professional, like, among kids.
Yeah, I would agree with you,
Yeah.
dude. Hey,
Yeah.
rest up. Be well. If there's
Yeah.
anything you need, let us know. All right.
All right, thanks, buddy.
Be
Have a
well,
good
dude.
one.
All right. Hope you heal up soon, PK. I completely agree with AP. I 100% agree. I don't care about wins and losses. I'm looking at improvements. I'm looking at guys individually. I'm making sure there's not regression. Here's the thing with Devin Carter. For him to be able to play himself into serious minutes, which I think the Kings are kind of betting on either Devin or Neek being able to step up and handle that ball well. If Devin has problems handling the basketball in summer league, that's not going to be good. I'm not saying he needs to be breaking ankles. I'm not saying he needs to drop 40, but you need to see a clear improvement in his handles. Defensively, he's scrappy, he's all over the place. We know what we can do, or what he can do on the boards. Offensively, before he went to Stockton, he was a little sped up. Felt like he had to make a play immediately. That I want to see that settle down. Now, as for Neek, I'm not going to so much bring in Max into this, but you got to figure this into summer league as well. Neek played multiple years, 4 or 5 years in college. Those guys are going to look much more, they should look much more polished rolling right in to the NBA. You saw the same thing. Usually, that's what you see. You saw that with Keegan Murray here in SAC when the Kings won the Summer League title. But We'll see. I'm excited. You know what? I'm excited to see. I know Devin's been putting the work in. Dude's been working hard. I'm excited to see what they're going to do. I want to see who has improved this summer. We know what they needed to improve at. Can they put that on tape against most guys that will not be playing in the NBA? So looking forward to that. We'll talk more about that as we come up to Summer League. Still a couple days until it gets started in Vegas. As I said earlier, Dennis Schroeder was introduced to the media today by Scott Perry. We're going to watch the press conference. Patrick, dude, I'm so glad you're off the clock. Welcome. Patrick, aren't these guys taking Wimbledon by storm right now? Patrick, give me your take on these guys. Love it. Absolutely love it. To have the cojones to show up in Wimbledon, where, like, if you're at center court, usually you're in a suit. These guys are wearing Knicks gear. Knicks fan makes its way overseas. Freaking love it. Mason, Devin, Neek, Max, Dylan. Is that your starting five? I think that's a problem if that's your starting five. Paul, I'd like to see Devin Carter actually compete with Schroeder for the point guard spot. Love his D. Yeah, compete for it, but that's Schroeder's spot. With the amount of money he's making, that's his spot for sure. Interesting press conference. By the way, yeah, Mike Brown was introduced to the New York media. So anyways, how anybody watch the hot dog eating contest? Did it disappoint? Did it feel different to you? Saw the G-Man ate a hot dog in honor of Joey Chestnut. I also heard Damon Amendola talk about a bad experience with Joey Chestnut, which I found interesting as well. The Kings keep harping. What's up, Tris? On a defensive team and identity, but they lost JV and Laravia and suck at defense. Well, again, if I'm looking at pieces right now, I can't judge Neek yet. I don't know what he's going to be. So I don't know if he's going to be able to guard multiple positions. I need to see more. That's why he's going to get Summer League. But if I say I have Keon Ellis, I have Dennis Schroeder, I have Keegan Murray, those and Devin. Did I say Devin Carter? I'm not sure if I did. I'm looking at how many players are interchangeable. Like, if you want to play that positionless basketball, great. That's awesome. You got to have the right guys to do it. I don't think as we sit today that the Kings have the right guys to play the positionless basketball offensively. Now, defensively, that is where guys, and I think Jerry said this last week. Jerry said defense is where you can kind of make your impact first. Or maybe it was Doug at the intro press conference for Neek and Max. That's what I'm seeing. If you're going to do positionless basketball, I want to see how many guys you can get into that category defensively where you can switch. Because the best teams in the NBA, that's what they're doing, switching. So, and I think when the Kings did play well defensively, and this is where Max kind of comes into play, is what's that going to look like? How much is he going to play with Sabonis? Because the Kings' bad defense centers around this, an undersized point guard. Or excuse me, an undersized center. That's what it centers around. You got to pack the paint. You've got to protect the paint. And now you're closing out. You are having to cover so much ground. Guys are getting wide open threes. It's the NBA. They're going to knock them down, especially in a three-point shooting league right now. So, as I said, got Jerry Reynolds coming up here in about 30 minutes. Can't wait to talk to him. If you have a question for Jerry, put it in the chat. We will ask him when he shows up. Man, you deserved to. I thought, oh, you guys are going back and forth. All right, fair enough. All right, so as I said, Mr. Dennis Schroeder introduced to the media today, Scott Perry.
And welcome everyone in today for what is a very, very exciting day for Sacramento Kings basketball. I'm here to introduce the latest member of our franchise, Mr. Dennis Schroeder. Before I pass over the mic to him, I just want to say a few words about Dennis and why Dennis. If you can recall my opening press conference, which now seems like a long time ago, a few months ago, I talked about this need for this team and organization at the point guard position. I also talked about creating an identity for this organization and this team and how we wanted to play. As a reminder, those 6 things are competitive, tough, team-oriented, disciplined, accountable, and professional. So when you marry those 2 things together,
I'm confused, Scott. I thought this was the motto for the team this
We want
year.
volunteers, not hostages. We want volunteers, not hostages. That's right.
No doubt.
Volunteers, not hostages. Sir, yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Anyways, those are your 6 things. That's what we are going to get. Maybe they'll be on a t-shirt. Last year, it was Climbing Together by Mike Brown. But remember those 6 things for the Kings. And by the way, let me ask you this really quick. I want to plant this seed in your head as well. Do those 6 things that he just mentioned, do they encompass Dennis Schroeder as much as Scott Perry feels they do? I mean, there were some good point. Josh Giddey's still on the market. I'm fine with Dennis at this point. But Scott, it sounds like, and by the way the Kings approached it, there is something they really, really like about him, even though he has been a little bit of an NBA vagabond. When I think about Dennis, I think shoot first. I might be wrong. Scrappy, I'm with you. I think he's scrappy when he wants to be. Not all the time. But do you, and tell me, how many of those categories do you feel he falls under?
when free agency was embarking upon us, this was the number 1 guy we felt in the league for us that was going to fit that bill and help us establish. He's a building block to us establishing that sustainable success that we're striving to get. Dennis, throughout his career, for those of you who have followed, and I know most of you in this room have, he is very tough, energetic. He plays the point guard position really with no fear. So I have a great deal of respect for that. I've watched him over the years at a number of different organizations and quite frankly been on the wrong side of some of his good games. But he really feels.
You couldn't get him on an expiring deal. On an expiring deal. By the way, if you're De'Aaron Fox, what are you thinking right now? Where's my extension? I am the 1B to Wemby, right? Looks like De'Aaron's going to go into the year without an option or anything on the back end. I not surprising. Spurs have so little into it, as many of you said. The trade kind of will haunt us. Well, the trade now directly ties to Neek. So Neek is one of those quote-unquote first-round picks, which Scott did a good job getting back into the first round with what will probably be 2 second-round picks in 2 years. But Neek directly ties to that. So, interesting. Scott and Dennis again.
Another building block as we move forward. And again, I would say to all, it's another step in the process of building this team up. You know, there's old saying that Rome wasn't built in a day, but you got to start laying the right type of foundation of people. And Dennis not only is a great basketball player, but he's the type of person that we desire to have in this organization. So extremely excited to have him. And I want all of you to really give him a nice warm welcome here as I turn over the mic to Mr. Dennis Schroeder.
Yeah, first off, appreciate your words. That means a lot to me, my family. I mean, it's always, I'm always grateful for opportunity like that, that a organization believes in me, a GM believes in me. I'm always, giving everything I have, every single day, every single practice, every single game. I always try to leave it all out there. So I'm extremely happy to be here, to be a part of, the Sacramento Kings moving forward, try to set a culture. Yeah, I'm really grateful for this opportunity, and I can't wait to get started.
Okay, with that, we will open it up to questions. And for those of you, please introduce yourself to the Dennis as well when you ask your question. Thank you.
I think you're being generous, Jerm.
Dennis, I'm Sean Cunningham with KCRA. Welcome to Sacramento. Just a minute ago, hearing Scott kind of say those words, I mean, for someone who's kind of been as well traveled in this league as you have been, what does that mean to know that they prioritized you and you identify, or you at least check some of those boxes that they're identified that they want to bring in within this roster?
I mean, it means a lot. Like I said, I've been 12 years in this league now, 31, got 3 kids, my wife. So really grateful to be around this league. Such a long time, first off, but to have a GM and the organization prioritize me as their point guard means the world to me. So I want to give it back, of course, when I get back here, every single day, every single practice, games, to leave it all on the floor and give everything for this organization.
And what would you just say this past 2 years has been like? I mean, I think it's 5 teams now, and during that time, I mean, what kind of toll does that take on you professionally?
For me, like I said, I'm in my point in my life. I always take the positive out of the situations. To be around, all the owners, all the GMs, all new teammates. I mean, last season was 3 teams, and good to meet Steph Curry, Draymond Green, then go to Detroit, Kay Cunningham, all those guys. And before that, starting the season to go to Brooklyn. And it was different roles, so I had to adapt to it, but I always take the positives out of that. And, my family's always with me. We're always traveling together. And nothing really changes for me. But like I said, it's a blessing to have somebody like Scott, seeing what I do on the court and prioritize me and bringing me here.
Hey Dennis, Brendan Nunez, Sacramento Sports. Welcome to Sacramento, man. Congratulations. First of all, just what kind of were your impressions of this roster as a whole? How good do you think you can be? And, do you have relationships with some of the guys on the roster already?
I mean, I know Zach Levine a little bit, Debo as well. Couple of my new teammates, they with Mark Bartelstein, our agent.
So, Germ, look, Keegan Murray, if he was not on the Kings, he's getting votes for the all-defensive team. So, he's going to be able to play D. Keon, excuse me, is going to be able to play D. Devin Carter should be able to play D, assuming that he's here. You don't know what you're going to get out of Neek yet. I think defense was one of the areas of improvement. Certainly undersized for a 3. And going back to Neek really quick, when I said, I think they're looking at him as a point guard, it's because he's undersized at 3, and there's no room for playing time at the 2 between Levine, Monk, etc. So I guess you look at the flexibility. Maybe he can play some defense. And here's the other thing, Germ. We're sitting here on July 6th or 8th. We don't know what this final roster is going to look like. things can change in a flash. Look at the trade that went down before training camp, like right before training camp. Cat for Julius Randle. I apologize for my voice too today. I am scratchy. That's why we didn't have a King's Court yesterday. I'm playing hurt. So sorry if I missed the mute button. My throat gets a little scratched. But anyways, back to that whole conversation. Somebody could step up, Jerm. I think the wild card to all this, the Kings are all in on these rookies, including the second rounder. But the wild card to me is Isaac Jones. Can IJ make enough of a jump to play 7 to 10 minutes a night, which makes the Kings defensively more athletic? He's probably the quickest off the ground on the team, and he can protect the rim. We saw that in spurts last year. So, look, they're not going to be a top-tier defensive team, but if guys pan out, which allows Sabonis to be on the perimeter and somebody else to be in the paint, this team by default is much better defensively. But remember, they were terrible defensively at guarding the three-pointer. So much better doesn't mean they're at the top of the league. They're probably in the middle of the league at defending the three. If you can have Domas closer to the perimeter on defense and you can have somebody else down in the paint, or you run some more zone. Jerry's been a big proponent of that. That zone defense was a problem for a lot of teams this year when the Kings threw it at them. So good question, though. It's what Summer League's for. Can somebody step up?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to meeting everyone, but I think we can be great. We got a lot of talent in this room. I think we just gotta, build the chemistry all together and prioritize winning, making sure that every single game counts, and we want to go out there and make sure we beat everybody's ass. That's what we're gonna do.
Scott, you talk about wanting competitiveness. That seems to fit into that.
Absolutely. That's music to my ears when I heard it.
Peter, that's a bad take. That's a reach. Dude's been in the league for double-digit years. I'm not going to get on him for that. He's earned that. You have not earned that if you're a rookie. I got to go against you. I have a dissenting opinion.
Order in the court.
From you for once. Bad take, Peter.
We talked a lot about that in terms of this season being so important that when people come see the Kings play, home or on the road, that they know they're going to get a very tough, hard-playing team that plays together, that leaves it all out on the floor each and every night. And we can live with the results if we do that. And this guy, we believe strongly is going to be the catalyst to that, along with obviously the rest of the team. But you need a leader at that point guard position. And I think Dennis is going to definitely provide that.
And yeah, you mentioned some of like the intangibles there, but saying he's #1 guy in free agency, what about him stylistically? Do you feel like made him a good fit with this group?
Yeah, where I'm from, and how I learned and grew up and playing the game in places like Detroit, Michigan, this guy embodies that. You pick up 94 feet. You are very combative in a good way on the court. And so that just really resonated with not only my personality, but Coach Christie's personality, our entire organization and what we're building here. We want the more individuals we can get like that and play that kind of way, the closer we get to establishing the true identity that we want for this basketball team.
Hey Dennis, Jeremiah Solomson, Sports Radio Source. Welcome to Sacramento. The opportunity here in Sacramento.
So curious, Germ, where do you want to see the improvement in Sabonis's game offensively? I can point to one place that I think many of you will point to, but it's not just a Sabonis problem. I could make an argument that everybody on last year's team that was in the core, in the starting lineup, was playing out of position, except Zach LaVine. He was in position. That's like the $1 million question, right? Is his game different if you have the big man next to him? If you watched him in Indy, some would say no. I think you put him at the 4, you put Keegan at the 3, and you get that bona fide stretch. I'm not seeing it this way. I want to be clear. I'm not seeing it this way. But I'm not sure that the Kings have not ruled out the possibilities for Max this season. He's high IQ. He can shoot the 3. It sounds great. Let me pose the question to you this way. You knew this season was going to be rough. You knew it was. Are the Kings at least giving themselves a chance to have a chance? Do you find any optimism in that? No, it's not regular to really push your chips in on a first and second round pick. But when you looked at the books and what they had to work with and the contracts that, quite frankly, are bad ones, was this their only play? Are they at least going for something? Yeah, it might blow up in their face, but it was going to blow up in their face if they did nothing. So where do you come out on that? Because yes, it sounds crazy. Second round pick, who's not going to be a two-way, that is getting guaranteed money. He kind of got a Bronny deal. 2 guaranteed, and I think the third partially for an early second round pick. Got a lot of confidence in that guy. And that's really how these teams get rebuilt. The other question, Schroeder. I saw some of you say he's more of a true point guard than De'Aaron Fox. Completely agree with you. He's been around Zach LaVine more. Can that help Zach LaVine? Can he stay on the court? Can he become an asset on the books to where a contender, a team that's a spot away, say, you know what, we're going to give it a run with Zach. You almost have to put Zach on a little bit of a pedestal if you want this thing to accelerate. Yeah, you need him to play good, but you need him to maybe bring some value back to that contract. Got to stay healthy to do both of those things. But at least, again, you do have a true point
Well,
guard.
the biggest thing is we need a point guard, that's for sure.
Can't argue with that.
How exciting is it for you to, more than likely have a very expanded role at the point guard position, kind of being looked to as the guy at the position here right now? Is that an exciting opportunity for you at this point in your career? And if you could just speak to the opportunity here.
Yeah,
Agreed, Peter.
To be a starting point guard in the NBA, I think you can't ask for more. And then to go out there every single night, to establish a culture, how we want to play. And like Scott said, to be the leader, to, make sure we do it every single night. Being the voice with all those other guys in the locker room is all you can ask for. And like I said, I'm gonna be really excited when I come back, to glue with those guys. And then, every single opportunity we get, we try to compete.
Hey, Dennis. Deuce Mason, how are you? Good.
It is a problem, Dennis. I will acknowledge that. I think the Kings are still trying to find a home for DeMar DeRozan that's not Sacramento. We talked about last week how the market was probably shrinking. Now that Norman Powell ends up in Miami, cross them off the list. I don't think the Clippers could do it now. Should get John Collins. There is only a handful of teams. I think you got to look east, but that changes if you're able to move DeMar. You can't play positionless basketball with DeMar DeRozan. True or false? You can't play positionless basketball with DeMar DeRozan because you're not utilizing him at his best. And on paper, he's one of your best players. But then when you play that style, DeMar's style, it slows things down. And the Kings want to move. Pace, pace, pace. I hope Coach Christie, moves off of that point. I really do. You know, Max said something that was incredible in the press conference when, and I'm going to ask Jerry about this, because Jerry, for the last 2 seasons, or at least a season and a half, thought the Kings should be bringing both of the bigs up to the elbows like they used to do. It's the Coachy offense. It's a modification of what the Kings did back in 2000 to 2004. And did you hear what Max said when he was asked about the offense and his familiarity coming from Stanford? It's like, yeah, we ran a lot of what they used to do. We would bring the bigs up to the elbows. So I hope Coach Christie reconsiders, because this is you have a lot of pieces. You just have a lot of different pieces. You got a few that are universal, but it's not necessarily a puzzle that fits together, knowing that there's not much Scott Perry can do. 1, because not a lot of people want to come to Sacramento, and 2, you don't have a ton to work with. Yeah, I don't think DeMar's going to like that very much, but I don't disagree. That's why I think you got to move him. Peter says he's not getting moved until there are injuries during the season. Yeah, and remember, there's going to be injuries in Summer League. I hope they do not happen. I hope they don't happen in general. And I seriously hope they don't happen for any Kings, but you're going to have injuries there too. Really, Summer League is, and I said this last week, Summer League's kind of like the NBA executive convention. It's where everybody comes together. Even a lot of the vets that aren't playing in Summer League, they're there. It's where talks happen. It's where deals can come together. I think that is where the framework, where the first conversation started around that T-Wolves trade last summer with New York. So you never know. If we get through Summer League and we get to August, the dead month for the NBA, where everybody takes vacation, then Peter's right. He's probably not moving. What percentage do you think DeMar will be on the floor opening night? I think it's 70%. I'm going to put it at 60% right now. I'm going to say 60%. 60% he will be here in Sacramento on opening night. Rhino, are we trading? So are you trading DeMar just to move him? Therefore, we're going to be willing or forced to take less in return? No, you're looking to get a good deal. It's not a fire sale on DeMar. I still think there might be a team or two out there that have something in exchange that you can use that would be serviceable for Sacramento. But no, you're not going to fire sale him. You're not going to do what you did with Valanciunas. Not a chance. Now, maybe the Kings knew that Valanciunas wanted to go back to Greece. I don't know. I've not heard one way or the other. But all of a sudden, the Saric deal doesn't look so awful. 90% Saric won't be on the roster opening night, would be my guess. Back to the press conference, and then Jerry Reynolds will be here in about 5 minutes. So get some questions in there for him as well.
How do you feel like you can impact this team most, especially since they needed a point guard in a big way?
I mean, if you watch me play the last couple of years, I always do the little things. defensively, 94 feet, picking up, making sure we play with energy on the defensive end, on the offensive end, making sure you put your teammates in position, pushing the ball, pushing the pace. I mean, if I have to take 10, 15 shots a game because the game tells me to, I do it. But other than that, I always try to make sure I control the game, put my teammates in position to be great, and I mean, the most important to win games.
Dennis, welcome. Jason Anderson with the Sacramento Bee. First for you, and then Scott, if I could follow up with you. You know, you've talked about kind of your path and your travels a little bit. How much have you craved, you know, kind of the situation that you've spoken to where, you know, you feel wanted, you feel prioritized, and like the opportunity is what you want? Like, how much have you kind of desired that as you've moved around the league in recent years?
I mean, I got to say, before Brooklyn, Detroit, all those teams, I felt always great. I'm, you know, not disrespecting anyone, but to have this commitment from an organization, from Scott, that is what I didn't have the last couple of years. And like I always...
And is there a reason for that? You have to pose that question. Is there a reason for that? We won't know until opening night. Actually, you won't know until we're 25 games into the season at least. You need 25. And hopefully he can stay healthy. I don't know. What are the vibes that you're getting? It sounds like Scott Perry, this was the guy. And I'm not talking about bad car salesman spin from Scott. He really wanted Schroeder. He really did. And hey, Scott did a really good job with the draft. We don't know how the players are going to turn out, but the positioning to get back in, he did a good job. He picked two guys that were right in line with what he was looking for. He's going against the grain where some teams don't want to pick up guys that have been in college 3, 4, 5 years. And I guess what'll be really interesting is if that continues through Scott Perry's tenure, or if that just is a 1-year thing, because the Kings need guys that can step on the court right now. So let us know what you think about Dennis's reaction. Getting paid, man. 44 last year is partially guaranteed. 4.3.
I always say I'm gonna make sure we pay him for that, and in all those little things I bring every single day. But it's a big opportunity for me, for the organization, for the team to be great, and I'm gonna give everything I have to be great this season.
Okay. And Scott, as you look at what more you guys can do, does it feel like you're done? Does it feel like you have other moves you can make? I know a lot was made about like retaining the MLE in this deal, but it's a little unclear like how much of that you guys can use with, you know, the aprons and the luxury tax stuff. Like, can you walk us?
So really interesting. The Schroeder hate is a little over the top. I understand where you're coming from, and I don't think, and tell me if y'all feel different, I don't think the hate is personally at Schroeder. I think where the questions, the heat, whatever, I don't want to call it hate. I think hate is a bad word to use in a situation like this. I think the questions, the pushback, the heartburn is, was there a better point guard available for this team? Could you have done more with that exemption? I think that is where the pushback's coming. I don't think it's Dennis personally. Because I've seen Dennis be very good. I've seen Dennis look awful, like he did in Golden State. And you go back to the $1 million question, well, you're getting moved to a lot of places. And you know how Jerry countered that last week? Jerry said, well, that means a lot of places valued him. So it'll be interesting. It's a big contract, but the Kings, as Domas has said,
Well, the
so
biggest
many
thing is we need a
times,
point guard, that's for sure.
You have a point guard. That is your starting point guard. Making that much money, Dennis Schroeder, if healthy, will be your starting point guard, and he is the closest thing you have had to a true point guard in the last 3 years. So we digress from the introductory press conference for Dennis Schroeder, and we begin what I think is the best day of the week, my favorite day of the week. Always so lucky during the summer to have the one, the only Jerry Reynolds join us on Tuesdays. Not for tacos, there for Jerry Reynolds. Let's get it started. Jerry Reynolds Tuesday.
It's Jerry Reynolds Tuesday, let the good times roll. King's legend in the house, he's got the game on a scroll. With endless coaching wisdom and stories to share. When he talks shit, birds, and Kings basketball, you better be there. Jerry Reynolds Tuesday's the place to be. Basketball magic, it's a sight to see. Chicken and dumplings on his plate. With a side of laughter, it's a perfect fate.
You always got to get the little last tune in there. Always got to get. What was the name of the bar in French Lick that you said you'd hear that playing at?
Now, what was that now? I'm sorry.
You said there was a bar in French Lick that you could see that
Birdie
playing at.
Ballard's bar, baby. Birdie, that was a female. Yeah, she ran a tight ship there, though. You know, if you got in a fight, you'd be kicked out after at least a week. So, you know.
Only a week. Only a week.
Well, it needed a business, you know.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Any good stories from birdies?
Well, there's a lot. I always, well, I'll tell you one. I told this story at different times, but it's a true story. It happened when I was years ago. I was at Birdie Ballard's. I'd come home in French Lick, and me and my I think just a buddy, a couple of buddies were in there having a few beers, and this old friend, guy named Hootie Flick, came in the bar, and he saw me. He said, Jerry, he said, I hate to bother you, but he said, I'd like for you to, meet my son. He's outside. He's too young. He can't come to the bar. And I said, well, okay, I'll be happy to do that. And so I went outside, and like I said, this was probably in the early 90s, late 80s. And so I went out and visited, a 12, 13-year-old kid. And he said, yes, I said, Jerry, I want you to meet, and my son, this is my son, Hootie Jr. And I said, okay, how you doing, Hootie? And so we visited a little bit. Then I get ready to leave, and I said, now, Hootie, I got to ask you, if when somebody calls you and ask for Hootie, who answers? And he said, oh, Jerry, that ain't no problem. We ain't got no phone. so just a little reminder of country folk sometimes lived a little different back then.
You might be the new norm, Jerry. We see a lot of people trying to get a little bit off the grid now and getting off the internet and getting away.
Yeah, I definitely can see that to a degree. I mean, of course, part of the reason in those days is if they didn't have landlines there, didn't have any cell phones there, period. And of course, they didn't even have landlines out there where he lived.
Yeah,
didn't have roads. I kind of knew where his trailer was, and they wasn't even roads there. Any gravel, they might have been little tracks to it. But anyway, good old fella passed away some time ago. So it's just one Hootie now. So if you called there, they'd know which Hootie to answer.
Yeah, well, all the love in the world to Hootie Jr. If this makes its way back to you. How was your 4th? Did you get your fill of the hot dog eating competition?
Yeah, I did. I watched it. It's almost depressing to watch in a way, because they're just you go on the internet and try to study a little bit about that and what the damage they're doing to their stomachs and things like that. So Joey Chestnut certainly he's a marvel, physical marvel. I mean, and you can't deny that 70 some hot dogs. But obviously they say, with the stomach becomes so stretched out, it may never get back to normal after a period. And those guys are professional eaters, they go on tour. So Yeah. Anyway, I think it's it's kind of probably like a football player putting their body through so much damage that their careers are pretty short. I'd imagine that that lifespan that could be affected or something like that.
Yeah, Jerry, I could deal with a bum knee. I have my hips replaced, but you take my stomach away from me, that takes the joy of eating a good meal.
I'm with you there, boy. I don't need it extended. I can put enough food in it as it is. So I don't need a bigger one.
No doubt about it. Jerry joining us. A lot going on. Summer League beginning here in a couple of days. Strong Gamer has the first question. If you are in Doug's shoes, do you play the young guys more than the veterans, considering the Kings are not a playoff team?
Well, I think a lot of it will have to. I think when it starts the season, I think he's got to put his best team out there.
Yeah.
Because Doug's a head coach fighting for his job, and so his job is to win games. I understand what your point of view would be, but that's for others. But when the season starts, he's got to put his best team out there, and that's all there is to it. I mean, I certainly think if you've got some young guys that you think are part of the future, you want to try to work them in, like your rookies and second-year players, like Carter, guys like that. If you feel like they've got a future with you, you want to make sure, that they're part of it, and you can find minutes for them, find a role for them, and if they're good enough, they'll take somebody's job. But yeah, I don't. It makes no sense for any coach to not play his best players.
Yeah, and that's being said with Scott Perry, who seems, and we talked about this last week, to be betting very heavily on these rookies. He thinks that they can play because of their experience in college.
Yeah, and I hope certainly that's what we all hope, that they can, as well as Carter in his second year, that they can prove they can play. And to the previous question, it's like, well, all that will do then, if you're playing your best players and you're pretty confident of your young guys as the season goes, by trade deadline, that may open up things for your veterans, but you don't gain trade value by not playing your best players. And so there again, I think you can get a feel of what your young players are capable of, in the first 40 games of the season, if in fact they might be ready for bigger roles as the season goes, and then also what the value of some of your more veteran players that maybe you would have maybe liked to trade during the summer but couldn't, but might be able to mid-year.
Yeah, I was asked this before you came on. What percentage would you put on it that DeMar DeRozan will be in a Kings uniform starting opening night?
I think right now I'd be looking at probably 70%, 70 to 80%. I mean, it just seems like the market is dried up currently. But that is one thing that changes, and like just what we just discussed, that may certainly by trade deadline, if he's still here and the Kings would like to trade him, with other teams that may be expected to have really strong teams and have injuries or are a little disappointed with certain players that they have, that may open up a much better deal than was available here this summer. So, but there again, that just goes back to, I think, what we said earlier is, play your best players, and generally that'll work out better for you than anything else.
Not Malik Monk, excuse me. Doug Christie said during the introductory press conference for the rookies last week that he's still looking to implement and play positionless basketball. Jerry, can you do that with DeMar DeRozan on this team?
Well, you almost have to, because he's, basically, what is his best position? It used to be two guard, but really you've got two guys there you'd probably rather play there in Levine and Keon Ellis, at least. So that makes him a small forward. And I think at his age, that's kind of, even though he's a little undersized, and doesn't match up well defensively there, but that's probably the position you have to play him. But having said all that, what they mean by positionless basketball is you'd like to be able to switch about every position defensively.
Right.
And to the Kings' point, I mean, when you honestly have so many below average defenders, I'm not sure it's a disadvantage or even an advantage. I don't know. It's I think generally when you're like Oklahoma City and you got a bunch of good defenders, you can switch every screen and all that. And for the most part, other than getting size disadvantage in size, it doesn't hurt you much. But with the Kings, the problem you have is if you get a quick guard, good off the dribble kind of guy switched off on DeRozan, well, you're going to get hurt there. That's all there is to it.
You're going to end up on a highlight reel somewhere.
Yeah. So, I get the positionless basketball because that's what the better teams are playing, but that's more to do probably with the defensive side, or the key is the defensive side. Offensively, it's pretty easy to do that. You can have one big and four guards, wings, however you want to do it, and spread the floor and try to get a lot of ball movement. And offensively, it's a lot easier to work than it is defensively.
Yep, I agree with you. And I think that's where the Jake LaRavia piece kind of changed things. Because to me, with what the Kings already had, Jerry, he was the key to them getting much closer to playing positionless on defense.
Couldn't agree more. I tell you what, I think that's a big loss. I really do. And I mean, I understand it. I mean, I think we all knew that the Kings could only pay him so much, and the Lakers were able to pay more. And I don't blame Jake. You gotta, even though he went to the Lakers, I do blame him for that. But I mean, your career is your career, and have a chance. It becomes a couple of $1 million more overall. And so I think any of us, get your attention. So, but I just thought he really would have went along with what we were just talking about, positionless, because he could guard guards and wings, and even could be switched off on centers and not be overpowered all the time, and could shoot the three ball. So I thought the Lakers made a smart move, and Kings lost a perfect kind of complementary guy at times when he and Keegan at the forwards could really create some issues, I thought.
Yeah, Jake really rattled Jokic's nest in Denver when they were switching him off. That threw Jokic, and you don't see Jokic get thrown off too much.
Not about once or twice a year. That's about it.
Jerry, what do you think the Kings need most right now? Another a true 3-and-D wing, a prayer, extra players dropping from heaven? What is it, Jerry?
Well, I would think a long wing dropped from heaven would work. Yeah. I mean, say an ideal kind of guy, I'll just throw this out. I mean, obviously I don't think they can get him, but somebody, there's two, like a Trey Murphy from New Orleans would be almost ideal, because he's long enough to play some four. Obviously his best position's three. He and Keegan would be good together. He can protect the rim a little, but a great shot blocker, young, and can defend out on the wing. Of course, the most perfect guy probably for Domas would have been, probably Jaren Jackson Jr., but then, he's too expensive. And then maybe second best might have been Naz Reid, which certainly the Minnesota Timberwolves feel the same way about, a big, long, athletic guy that can play 5 and 4 and defend both spots and shoot threes and create some real problems. So, yeah, that's what's needed. I don't know that, now that Collins has been traded and Jackson's, all the seem like top guys, that Bobby Portis, they've all signed contracts and are set.
Jerry, how quickly they got set tells you how important they are. And you've been saying this for a very long time about those guys. They don't grow on trees.
No, when you got one, you want to keep them, and I mean, I always say that's the first thing for any team, is that once you have a player that you like and you feels valuable, I mean, keep your own free agents, and hopefully get in a position financially and cap wise where you can get somebody else's. The Kings obviously had enough room to get a Dennis Schroeder, and that's terrific. Unfortunately, you lost one in Laravia, and Valanciunas probably I'd count that as a loss too, because certainly isn't the same caliber of player.
No, and you wonder if the Kings had any hints that Valanciunas might be looking to go a different direction, because as soon as that trade gets announced, he might be going back to Greece. That was an interesting situation. Ned, and we're going to talk a little summer league, wants to know, what do you see in Devin Carter? What is the ceiling, and what are you looking for in summer league from him?
Well, what I'm looking for is him to really run the team. I really think the team really needs to focus on him becoming the lead guard. He certainly defensively shows you the toughness you want. He's got decent size there, but go ahead and be the guy running his team. And of course, if he can do that, then that gives you a lot of hope going forward. Doesn't mean, obviously, it doesn't mean he'd be a starter at that position, but he's he can play off the ball as a two guard. But certainly the Kings could use that second point guard for sure.
Absolutely.
And that backup, and as a young backup. And I think he'll prove that. I'll be surprised if he doesn't play well and prove that he's ready to be a reasonably good backup right away, and then maybe be ready to take that position full time in a couple of years. That's what you're hoping for, and that's what you hope to see, because I think if you don't see that this summer, then that definitely puts a damper on the season going forward.
Do you think he's under the most pressure of any King this summer?
I do, yeah, because he was a lottery pick. He had a disappointing season. It wasn't his fault, all of it, or very little of it was, injuries. And he had to come in the middle of the playoff run and get minutes where he could. Couldn't blame the coaches either. So this is his time. The summer league, the preseason, this is his time that he didn't have last year. And he really needs to establish in summer league why he was taken 13th, that he's a baller. And so, I don't see that, other guys you want to see the rookies do well, that's for sure. But still, one was a 24th pick, another a second round pick. So it's probably a little different there. Even though this team probably needs them to come in and prove they can contribute as rookies, which whether they can or not, we'll know a little bit about that after summer league. But Carter, you hit it. If there's pressure on anybody, it's him.
And he doesn't need to score, Jerry, 15 points a night, in my opinion. He just needs to be able to set guys up and be a playmaker and be a pest on defense.
Yeah, if he could be I just look at be productive. If he's a guy that could average, say, 12 points in summer league on 9 shots and be a 2.5 to 1 assist to turnover ratio and really be the pest and defensive, guy that really disrupts things. He can, those kind of 3 things, and then you'll feel pretty good about his summer.
Yeah, Jerry, when you were in the front office and when you were coaching, I'm not sure, there were a bunch of different summer leagues back then. It wasn't just centralized in Las Vegas, but how would you judge development of a player? Because a lot of the other guys on the court aren't going to be in the G League. They might not even be overseas. They're just on the roster. So knowing that the high valued talent is out there, there's a presumption that they should play better against guys that are probably not going to be in the league. How did you balance those two when evaluating a player?
Well, I did think, when you draft somebody, especially first rounders, you want to go into the summer league with them as a focus. You want to make sure they're playing the right position and getting a lot of minutes. That's what you go to summer league for, is primarily for those guys. So I always say, if you draft somebody 15th and then play him maybe 3 games out of the 7 in the summer league or something like that, and he's healthy and only play him, 15 minutes a game. Well, that's a waste of time. You're not doing anybody any good. Play those guys. In effect, kind of build the offense to see what they can do in defense. I always remember, certainly, guys in the past, Hito Turkoglu from years ago, as a rookie, he was 16th, 18th pick, and and we had a real veteran team, so but you really wanted something from him, and so the idea was, well, we don't really care. No, it sounds cruel. Don't care about these other. If this guy can show us that he can play in the summer league and be outstanding, then we might have, as a rookie, he can be an 8th, 9th guy. Well, he was more than outstanding, and he proved to be, right away, a 8th or 9th kind of guy, and then could even be a lot more than that. He basically became, all-star level talent. But you wanted to see that, and you wanted to make sure he had every chance to show it,
Yeah.
or quite honestly, or not show it, then that tells you something too.
Yeah, it's an excellent point. Keegan Murray, that's when the Kings started to say, oh, maybe we can shoot the 3 ball. And it carried into that 22-23 season. And they played amazing for that year.
Yeah.
So with Nick Clifford, if you're Scott Perry, as I learn more about this young man, Jer, I'm looking at what the Kings already have on the roster. He's undersized at 3. You're backlogged at 2. Is Scott Perry betting on him as much as a point guard as anything else, you think?
I don't know. I'd have to think right now that he was selected because they felt he was clearly the best player available. And that may be true. It may not exactly fit a need as much as, well, if he's really good, that, being good, take care of everything, because if he's really good, then that means you trade somebody else.
Yeah.
Or you trade him if he's really good. There's no downside of getting the best player.
Sure.
It just might not fit right away. And I don't think there's any way Scott or anyone could know exactly what his best position is right now. Like, as you pointed out, he's probably a little small for the 3, but then again, teams are going with 3 kind of guards more and more. It's more about how many wings can he guard. If he could prove to where he could guard the 6'7", 6'8" guys, which he might be able to do. Not saying he's the second coming of Caruso or something, but
sure.
But I mean, he's about that size, and Caruso certainly can guard 6'7", 6'8" guys. So that's what you don't know, and you can't know quite right yet. But that opens up I always say it's probably almost more important to find out, what kind of position can people guard, and how well can they guard. I mean, that almost gets them playing time quicker than the offensive part.
And do you coach it that way? Is it, just focus on this and let the game come to you offensively?
I always felt too. I mean, just as much as anything, figure out who your best player, 2 or 3 best players, and then build the offense to their strengths. The other guys have got to fit in.
Yeah.
And then same way with defensively. All right, find out, who are your best defenders, who are your worst defenders, and then try to cover. If you got to play them, if you got to play Luka Doncic, try to figure out how to cover for him a little bit. It's not. It's not nuclear science or anything, but I mean, a lot of the superstars aren't outstanding defenders. I always say Mike Bibby was not a good defender, actually Vlade wasn't. I mean, he was good. Most centers he could guard, because most of them weren't very good. The ones that were a problem. So anyway, I think that, to me, that's where you start, is make sure. Build it around your best players offensively and defensively, and then try to sort out the rest. And I think, say, look at the championship team we just watched, Oklahoma City Thunder. I mean, their offense was clearly built around Alexander and Williams.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that, Holmgren had a role. I mean, but those 2 guys were the offense, and probably dictated between the 2 of them about 70% of what happened. And then defensively, obviously with Dort and Caruso and Hartenstein, it was more, they were probably a little more important. Not that Williams and Gilgeous-Alexander were solid, but you couldn't make the case they were key defenders.
Yeah, it's an excellent point. And the other side of that finals, the Pacers come out and say that Tyrese Halliburton will not play next season, which I think takes a little bit of pressure off of him. I know you're incredibly close with some of the people in that organization. Have you gotten any feedback since the finals about how they felt about that run? Do they think they can duplicate it again eventually? What have you been hearing?
Well, I think they're definitely a little down right now. I mean, not just the Tyrese injury, that was bad enough. You get your most talented player, at least your leader. So you can make the case Siakam might be equally talented differently,
Sure.
but losing Miles Turner to free agency, they don't really. And I don't know that he was probably only their fifth best player, but it's not like they have another center that can fit their style like he could.
Right.
And so, yeah, I don't think they're very optimistic about getting back to where they were this next year. They've got great depth, and Nembhard and certainly and O'Connell, they can make up for some of what do more than they did. But they still. The problem is, it's like if O'Connell and Nembhard play more, well, you still don't have who's coming in off the bench to replace them thing. So yeah, it's going to be tough. I don't see them or Boston as I just don't think they're the same teams, and so that the East is just wide open. Let's face it. If we could just get a couple of Western teams, even if it's not the Kings, get a couple of Western teams to be put in the East. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Get Minnesota and Denver out of here and let them play in the East, and it would make things a little better.
Yeah. How do we start that process?
I don't know. It needs to be started. Well, I mean, what really has to happen at some point? It's clear that the West has been. It's not to say the West always had the best team, but the best depth and overall talent now for probably 20 some years. So at some point, I wish the league would look at just a seeding for as one. In other words, say if you go to 1 through 20, type.
I'm with you.
Yeah, and just with charter travel and all that, it's no big deal.
And especially, as you said last week, cut the playoff series down to back to the best of 5.
Yeah, that would be so much. And I think basically from a fan's point of view, I mean, it still creates the same interest. Actually, it'd build up to more interest, really, because games would have more significance. And generally, if you can't determine who's the best team to win the first 3 games out of 5, then I don't know. I mean, I just think it makes almost too much sense. I mean, I know because of TV and rights and
owners,
they
wouldn't like it.
They won't do it. So that I always say, it may be common sense, but that means it has almost no chance when it actually is common sense.
So true. So true. Jerry joining us here for a few more minutes on Jerry Reynolds Tuesday. Jonathan Kuminga, a popular name around here in Sacramento. Do you like the fit? Where would he fit? Your thoughts on him?
Well, I like his potential. I mean, I think he's one of those guys that I wouldn't be surprised to see in the next couple of years. He's still young to where he could be a 24 5-point scorer and help a team win. I think the best is ahead for him. I know he doesn't maybe fit so well in Golden State, and I don't know that he'd fit well here right now. But, I mean, depend on who you had to give up to get him. I mean, I hate to, not trying to disrespect DeRozan, but for instance, if you could move DeRozan for Kuminga with something else, well, I mean, he's a little bit of a ball stopper, and he's not quite as efficient as DeRozan right now, but he will be. and he brings a little extra size and athleticism. You need
Mm-hmm.
that type of things. But so anyway, I don't know if the Kings have what they want. It sounds like that they don't. But yeah, he's a guy that actually, if I were the Warriors, I really wouldn't trade him. Because Curry's not going to last forever, and they're going to need a go-to guy offensively, and he isn't that guy now. But who else? Once Curry's gone, or Jimmy Butler is not going to get a lot better either. They're a couple of years away from kind of having that moment where they have to take a hard look at, whoa, we got to trot a team out there and find somebody that can be a go-to guy offensively, and he might be the best option.
It's such an odd thing because they were really training him, building him up to kind of be the next coming. And then you completely fall out of grace with Steve Kerr, and Jimmy Butler coming over doesn't help by any means. But I don't remember seeing somebody fall out of the rotation the way that he did.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly his game. I mean, he really is a guy you kind of a little bit like DeMar, where you need to go to, or Jimmy Butler for that matter. He's not as good as Jimmy, but I mean, he really needs the ball a lot.
Yeah.
And really, and certainly with Golden State, well, with Butler and Curry, he's not going to have it a lot. And I think we all understand why. They are better than he is. And that's kind of the conundrum they are. And it's like, well, he's probably a more talented player than Moody, but Moody's probably a better fit because Moody will be a ball mover and spot shooter.
Yeah.
And just defend. And if you're Steve Curry, you're saying, I want somebody fit with my two guys.
Yep.
Draymond, that's one thing he does. He fits with them. I mean, he obviously is very gifted in other ways, but he fits with those guys, and they're the offensive focal point. So, yeah, it's that's why guys, you see guys traded 2 or 3 teams, and they finally kind of develop into stars sometimes because they get better opportunities, better situations. That's really about the only thing I can say to that is that sometimes a guy like him probably needs to be somewhere else right now for him to be the best that he can be. But it's also true a couple of years from now, Golden State might be the best place. It just isn't now.
Yeah, it's an excellent point. So here's the other side of that. And I have been beating this back with a bat. Been holding it like a bunch of zombies, Jerry. These takes about Malik Monk for Kuminga or even Malik to Detroit. And you talked about if it was a deal that involved Jaden Ivey or somebody like that. But for me, trading Malik Monk right now with so much uncertainty about your playmakers and knowing he is one of the few that is on the roster, I can't imagine the Kings rolling this unit out next year without Malik Monk.
I can't either. I mean, in other words, if you're trading Malik Monk, you got to get a top level player.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't have his best year, but he's a year removed or so from being 6th man of the year. Or close to it, and
should have been.
And that's his best role. I think we know that now. But how to have a guy that can come in as a 6th man and actually, and many times be the best player on the floor, which he's proven that. And there's times when he might be the worst player on the floor, but that's the beauty. That's who he is. He's an aggressive scorer that can make some plays, take chances defensively. But it's like, if you could trade Malik for, like, say, Jaden Ivey, a healthy Jaden, because Jaden is probably a younger, more talented version of Malik. He's not, you know what I mean? So you're just replacing him with a younger, a guy with maybe a little more upside because of his youth, that sort of thing. But to kind of move him for some just limited role player, I don't. This team isn't that talented to do that, in my opinion.
Yeah, and just what he brings from an energy standpoint, he brings that reckless abandon that I think a lot of the guys, Domas has it to a degree, but he brings that to the team. And then, just his energy off the court. He balances them out when they're low. He brings them up and vice versa. I just, especially if you're going to be having young guys on this team that might be playing minutes, I think you've got to have Malik at least for now.
Yeah, and he's a guy loves to play.
Yeah.
And you see it. I mean, he's going to have something to say to the refs. He's going to have something to say to the coaches. I mean, he's into the game.
Yeah.
And I agree. I tell you, you need guys like that, and I've never seen him really in a kind of a pout mode when things weren't going his way, which, you see with a lot of guys if they're not getting their way, but he's a guy. Yeah. Well, I want to start, but if once you put him in a game, he's balls out. I mean, now you better. He's a really good player, and he's on a contract that's probably pretty fair, and so if you trade him, you better get somebody his equal, or get a real need. If you could trade, like I say, if you could trade him for Murphy at New Orleans, I'd do that. I don't know that, they're totally different, but one fits a need more so than the other, that sort of thing. But if you're New Orleans, you probably don't be it because you've already got somebody like, Malik. So there you are.
Boy, Joe Dumars, he's going all in this year.
Well, they need to do something. I mean, obviously, last year was just a disaster with the level of talent and what was expected of them. I always say that one of the biggest mistakes they made was getting rid of Valanciunas. Basically, he was a good center. And then all of a sudden they tried to play without a center all year long for the most part. And Larry Nance Jr. was a backup on that. Was a darn good backup. I don't know what they were thinking to move both of those guys.
I'm with you.
And really didn't have an answer.
I'm with you.
It's kind of like, trading Fox and not really getting an answer.
Well, I think we kind of know how that feels.
Yeah, I think we do. Yeah, now that I'm kind of shameless to bring it up. I just pissed myself off.
Really, I don't want to get on the Fox tangent, but Jerry, do you think he's going to get an extension before the season starts?
Wouldn't be totally surprised, and I've said this before, that with Castle and now Dylan Harper, they've got two young guys who can run a team, and they're really athletic and a little bigger. And I would not be surprised to see them try to at some point, if Giannis makes any kind of inclination, he would like to move. If I'm San Antonio, I move Fox and maybe Sochan and a future pick or something. And but I think Milwaukee'd have to be interested in that because they'd be getting a proven star type player.
Proven.
And if you're San Antonio, which is very scary, you do that, you still probably are talent from the guard line, very safe. And front line, you don't need Sochan if you got Antetokounmpo. And so now with the Antetokounmpo and Wembanyama, all of a sudden Oklahoma City and Houston are probably wetting their pants.
Oh, absolutely. Because if you're OKC, you're thinking we can match up with anybody in the West. You get Giannis in San Antonio, now you have a matchup problem.
Yes, you do. At two spots for sure. And you got two, especially with Castle. I mean, I think Harper, what little I've seen, has got a little dog in him too. That that they'll go out there and guard somebody. So it's nothing against Fox, but if I were them, I got my two young guards, and one of them was proven rookie of the year, that rather than paying De'Aaron a couple of $100 million, if I'd rather have him as part of a deal to get me a Antetokounmpo, that's for sure.
Amen to that. Okay, this will be my last question, then we'll give Andrew the last final question. You can only keep one, Holmgren or Jalen Williams. Who are you keeping if you're OKC?
Oh boy, that's a tough one. Now, see, this guy knows basketball. That's a tough one. It would be awful tough for me to give up. I think I would keep Williams, and the reason I say that, Holmgren is so hard to replace, and in general, 20, 30 years ago, you'd have done it the other way for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in today's open court game, Williams to me is really on the verge of being a top 15 player in the league, and Holmgren may be that, and he's unique, but you know, I mean, to me it'd be almost like giving up Scottie Pippen when you're the Bulls. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, you're
hard
because he's. I mean, I still think I really do think he's their second best player, and But now Holmgren is so unique, and they don't win a championship without Holmgren, and I don't know they could replace him either. But I don't think they can replace Williams. So anyway, if I'm Sam Presti, I don't do either. So that would be.
There you go.
but that's a great question, and like I say, I think 30 years ago that would have been absolutely for sure. You keep the big, and we'll get a wing. Maybe we can get a star wing later. But I think it's almost now the way the game's played. Boy, if you don't have some star wings that can break people down, you just can't compete.
Yeah, and especially Wemby, you got Holmgren to match up right there. That's a good.
Yeah.
You know what? I hit my goal for the day.
Ooh.
I got my.
That's a great question.
Got it. See if Andrew. So Andrew gets the last question. It is Jerry. Great Doug Christie stint as head coach last season. And will anything be different this season? No political answer, please. Asking a lot here, Andrew. Putting Jerry's feet to the coals.
Oh my God,
man, Jerry.
Well, that's a great. That is good. But here's what I think. I mean, it has to be. This is Doug's team now. He's not adjusting to what adjusting to what Mike Brown did, trying to change it on the fly. Then getting a different team middle of the year, trying to adjust that. No, he's going into it this year. He's the boss. His staff is his staff. He's hired his guys, as far as I know. And so, yeah, it'll be on Doug now. And he'll also have a camp to implement what he wants to do offensively and defensively. So he'll start the season now. We'll see how it goes, but he's going to start the season really with the team that he wants to play. I mean, he'll have the guys he thinks deserves to play and the style he wants to play. And so, yeah, I think, definitely it'll be much easier for him to coach this team than last year. How much better will it make him? I think a coach's impact with the roster, which I think is not balanced. I think he could make a 3 or whatever talent this team has or whatever ability they have to say this is a 40-win team. If we want to say that, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Say it's a 40-win team. Well, I think with a really good coach using the guys the best of their ability, might get 4 or 5 more wins. I think that's what you see when you see Rick Carlisle or Thibodeau or Ime Udoka. All they're doing, they've got a talented team, but they're getting 4 or 5 more wins than maybe a lesser coach. That's all. You don't take a 20-win team and Red Auerbach, he don't win championships till Bill Russell showed up. So,
Jerry Reynolds didn't win a championship because Bill Russell only showed up on the bench.
Well, Bill was, bless his heart. I rest in peace. I loved the guy. Yeah, but he was unique. He was unique, and I was honored to get a chance to be around him and work for him.
Very, very cool. So you think I got to get you out, but you think Woody was a Doug decision?
That's a good question. I know he texted me. We texted about Woody because he knew I knew him, and all I can say is good things because I've known him for a long time, and I know he's a good coach. Now, whether I know that Woody has a background with Scott Perry, during Detroit and different times in New York, so that probably entered into it as well. But at the end of it. He went along with it, so it's on him. And the fact that he's his top assistant, and he certainly Woody's a loyal guy. There's not an ounce of disrespect or or anything like that. I think Woody wants to be a head coach again, but I know he's going in there to be an assistant and do the best job he can with Doug, and he brings a little different edge. Woody's old school, so I know Doug's more of a people player kind of guy, which is great in today's game. But Woody brings a little Thibodeau and
Good.
it's a little edge in there, which Mike Malone,
Good.
as I think it's like I say, you need a few shitbird players. Sometimes you need a little shitbird coach.
Amen, Jerry. You need a yin to the yang. And so that might be a very good pairing. We'll see. I've got to get you out. Take 3 days off. Take the whole week off, Jerry.
Okay.
You worked a holiday week. I mean, I can't thank you enough. And you know how much everybody here enjoys having you.
Well,
every single week.
I probably enjoy it more than you guys do. So I really look forward to it. Like I say, it's just got another little commitment coming up, and I gotta act like I know something for that too. Try to fix it the best I can. So anyway, but yeah, well, I'll take a couple of days off, and then I'll start preparing. Probably Sunday for next Tuesday.
That works, and hopefully we got you warmed up for your next commitment. So
yeah, well, I'll be watching some summer league, so I'll have some thoughts. By the way, I got one last thought.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm just going out on a limb here, and I'm going to tell you something.
Yeah,
Edgecombe, the third. That kid is a baller, man. I watched him the other day, and I said, "Damn, am I watching the second coming of Dwayne Wade?" I mean that is super quick, stop on a dime, give you gets to spots. Oh, I don't I don't
knows his spots as a rookie, Jerry.
He sure does. I mean, he may if Cooper Flagg's better than he is, he's going to have to be awfully good. But I think that Edgecombe is, if Philly stays healthy, they might just be the team. Now, having said that, when's the last time Philly's healthy? I will never.
Yeah,
so,
right.
Yeah. So anyway,
crazy. That's high compliment.
If you fans, if you get a chance, and probably Edgecombe will never be good again since I said that. But my gosh, I think we're seeing a young star in the making right there.
I'm with you, Jerry. Seems like he has the it that Jerry always has. So we appreciate you. Go get off to your other commitment. We'll talk soon. Thanks, buddy.
Take care. See you guys.
Of course. The one and only Mr. Jerry Reynolds. How about that little last bit of knowledge that he dropped on you? I agree. I mean, I wasn't ready to go there yet with Edgecombe, but for Jerry to just bring that out, ready to go, locked and loaded, that means he really likes the guy. He's right in a sense about getting to his spots and knowing spots already. It's just that he looks like he is a high IQ player, and he's got the game to match it. You don't see that very much. So hopefully he is able to stay healthy and stay in the Eastern Conference for now. How about Philly dodging a freaking bullet between Edgecombe and, oh my gosh, we've got more to talk about with him too. Ace Bailey, I don't want to get into it today, but yeah, they may have definitely dodged the Bailey bullet. The Omar Cooper, the one was the agent for Ace Bailey. Apparently he has a son that just graduated college that's somehow working for him as a quote unquote assistant to the agent. He asked the Utah Jazz if his son could be a guest coach at Summer League. So wait, the agent's son of your first round pick is now going to be a guest coach? Do you remember the talk we had a couple weeks about boundaries and claws into people? Unbelievable. The NBA shut that down so quick just because of the optics. I bet you Danny Ainge. So, oh yeah, let me just talk to the NBA. He knew what the NBA would say, incredible stuff. So, incredible stuff with Jerry Reynolds, just terribly incredible, like incredible in a bad way with Ace Bailey's circle. He is in Utah, though. He has reported, played a couple games already there. So, Dennis the Menace, is Dennis back up to trouble? Denver could give OKC a run. Yeah, I agree with you, Paul, 100%. I think you've got Christian Brown, who is, to me, a younger, more versatile Alex Caruso on the way up. Denver was injured when they took OKC 7. Sure. You got Jokic, who many think should have been the MVP. The key to them, though, is Jamal Murray and his health. It seems like inevitably every season you're losing Jamal Murray for a chunk of games, and towards the end of the year, he kind of has to get going before the playoffs. Then playoffs, he's usually okay. But Jamal Murray, if he could just stay healthy, that would be incredible. Jerry getting a ton of love, as he deserves. Great guy. Love Jerry coming on. We're lucky to have him. Thank you guys for the good questions. If I missed any questions, we will try to get to those next week. Was there anything that really jumped out to you about what Jerry had to say? I thought that we were on the same page with Devin Carter about the pressure. I think Devin Carter, this to me, and I know it is for every player, but even more so with Devin Carter, this is his Scott Perry tryout. This is his Scott Perry workout, these next 4 games, hopefully more than 4 games in Vegas. Because he could turn into something else. You might move off of him. You might regret moving off of him this early. I just hope the Kings, here's the thing. If you look back on the Kings season last year, the basketball IQ was down across the board. Looks like we've got a trade. Thanks, Peter. Doesn't really affect. Yeah, okay. I see you. I'm not going to put Shams up right now. Peter, I was making sure there wasn't a Fox name in there. There you go. If you look at the Kings last year, their basketball IQ, if you could quantify it, it would have been lowest 5 in the league. Now, did maybe some of the guys kind of pack it in at times? You could maybe argue that. You have to argue that against Detroit when De'Aaron was flat-footed on the strong side. The 3-point game, excuse me. But in transition, it was bad. Zach LaVine had some really bad decisions. If the Kings can just, from a basketball IQ standpoint, do a little bit better, then the team's going to be noticeably better. Now, that doesn't put you into the play-in. That doesn't put you into the playoffs, but you're going to be more competitive and you're going to have better chemistry. So I've got to think that improves for them this year. Over under, again, 37.5 wins. Didn't get to that with Jared. We can get to that next week with him. That line probably will not be moving. But yeah, we'll be watching Summer League very closely to see what the Kings do. I'm going to be keeping a close eye on Mason Jones too. I've got to keep a close eye on Mason. If there's anybody that has put in the work, and I mean really put in the work when nobody is looking, it's Mason Jones. And it's shown off in spades. You saw what he did last year in Stockton. You saw what he did. Yes, please give us thumbs up. In the G League Finals, he led that team to the championship. Led them to the championship. So Mason has worked his way into a look. I would keep a very close eye on Mason Jones. I know other teams are going to be keeping a close eye on Mason Jones. I think he's one of the top guards that's unsigned right now. Yes, he signed with the Summer League team, but unsigned in the NBA. Nothing guaranteed. Him, Ty Washington, Dexter Dennis. I watched Dex in San Antonio too. So we will cover all that in the coming weeks. There was the Shams bomb via Peter. Awesome. All right. Well, we got through. Yeah, he got excited, huh? Jerry, podcast time. Yeah, you know what? Jerry, he does a few different shows around town. So we are very lucky to get 45 minutes of his time every single week. And for all of you to have a forum to ask him questions, really cool stuff. Don't forget Napes. He's back at 8 tonight. Join Grant for Open Forum. He'll be talking whatever you want to talk. And by the way, Open Forum is just that. Like sometimes, especially this time of year, we like to go against the grain and talk about other things. We've got the opportunity to. So if there's something you've ever wanted to ask Grant that might not be related to basketball, do it. That's what those shows are for. He'll be here at 8. So looking forward to having him back. Him and I will get together for a show this week. We've got to get that done as well. And then certainly if anything changes with the Kings, if they were to make a big move, one of us will be right back here on the channel. So thanks for being here. I'm going to wrap up. Playing hurt today. Got through it all right. Mason was a wrecking ball when he was balling. Yep. Mason. Oh, I can't put it up from there. That's funny. Okay. System limitations. Yeah, Mason was wrecking ball. What did he go on, BJ? It was like 49, and then it was like 49 and 47. Or no, was it 39 and 47? He had 2 massive games back to back. So Mace has done the work. He has earned the goodwill within this organization, and his mindset, the way that he plays, it's definitely a Doug Christie mindset. So keep an eye on him as another guy that could be battling for an opportunity, not to be the backup point guard, but an opportunity to be the backup point guard here in Sacktown. All right, Grant, back tonight, 8 o'clock. Appreciate y'all. Make sure you come back tomorrow. Kings Court, 3 o'clock. Sorry for being off yesterday, but we will be back the rest of the week rocking and rolling with you here on If You Don't Like That. If you missed any of the show, you can go back and watch it on YouTube, or you can download the audio on any of the major podcast platforms, Spotify, YouTube, whatever it may be, Amazon Podcasts. You can find the King's Court with Rhino there. Thank you very much for letting me into your offices, your homes, your cars, your ears. Really appreciate it. Very humbled and thankful for the opportunity to talk hoops with all of you. Make it a great one. Go Kings. Light the beam. Court's dismissed.
Order in the court.
Feel good about yourself, Ryan. You're just a part of the King's Court.